The Leaders Coach podcast is about connecting leaders to an identity that will help transform their leadership by engaging in conversations that lead to opportunities for growth, authenticity, and vulnerability. As we're unlocked, we simultaneously empower others to live and lead unique and authentic lives. Let's go deeper. Welcome to the Leaders Coach podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Leaders Coach with Dr. Shanita Brown. You guys are in for a treat with this conversation. This young man is not new to the Leaders Podcast. He's been a guest before, and I invited him back. He's full of wisdom, full of insight, and just can be very helpful for what it is that we're talking about. We are talking about self-awareness, and today, just diving in to our client, we're just talking about how our words are important, how what we do shape, we meaning us as pathfinders, come on pathfinders, how us as pathfinders, how we shape culture. And that is so important. So culture does not just necessarily have to be at your work or in the organization. Your culture can be at your home, right? Because culture is just how we do things around here. And there's so many different elements to shaping culture. And Dr. Spears is touching on some of those things in this conversation. I'm so excited. Cannot be more excited to have him here on the show. So like always, you guys can hit us up by going to our Instagram at the Leaders Coach Pod, making sure you're hitting us up on our website at theleaderscoachpodcast.com. You guys can also email us at leaderscoach@shanitabrown.com. You guys can follow me on my personal social media, Dr. Shanita_Brown, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, which is now X. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you think about these episodes. Make sure you're engaging. Comment on our Spotify, on our Facebook, on our Instagram. We see the numbers, so we know that you guys are listening, and we know that it's being beneficial for what it is that you do and who you are. This is what the Leaders Coach is about. It's about building up these pathfinders in order for us to be the best versions of ourselves. So again, you guys are in for a treat. I'm telling you, we're definitely going to get Dr. Spears back. Just a phenomenal man of God and just a phenomenal leader. And so with all that being said, hope you all enjoy this conversation. We have been working in our self-awareness for season 3, leader self-awareness. We've had some incredible guests. We just came off celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the Leaders Coach podcast. And man, I'm telling you, thank you guys so much for the love, everything that you've shown and what you've done. This would not have been possible without you. But today, this man, we have I wouldn't even say he's a new guest. He's a recurring. Actually, he's the first guest that I've asked back, right? And so I'm so excited that he is here with us for another episode of the Leaders Coach podcast. And he's going to be talking to us about their self-awareness. And so you guys that have been on the show, you guys that have listened, you already know this name, you know this person, and those who are new, you're going to get to know this man. Let me tell you a little bit about him. This is Dr. Ulf Spears. He has served in the School of Business since 2010 as an adjunct faculty member. He's a full-time professor, y'all, and an interim dean, a dean of business, and now the dean of business since early 2022. And he holds more than 25 years of experience in the fields of education, nonprofit, business, and leadership development. He serves as the president of Strategic Leadership International, an organization that provides leadership training to leaders and organizations, and is a published author of 5 books. Oh my God, y'all. Dr. Spears believes it is an honor to serve in the college university setting and is committed to an environment of purposeful, rigorous inquiry as students prove or disprove theories, philosophies, and dogmas. Dr. Spears is an innovative, creative, and practical educator who provides academic and spiritual perspectives to address real-world industry issues. He also has a passion for empowering emerging leaders to be proactive and exemplary industry pace setters. Dr. Spears holds a Doctor of Strategic Leadership, an earned doctorate, DSL, which is Doctor of Strategic Leadership, and a certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies in Leadership from Regent Universities, a Master of Management from the University of Phoenix, Arizona, and a bachelor's of science in psychology from Corbin University, which is in Oregon. Dr. Spears, his wife, and their 3 children and their 3 grandchildren resides in Vancouver, Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together for none other than the one and only Dr. Ulf Spears.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's quite an introduction.
Yes. Hey, it's definitely deserving. It's well deserving, and to do all the things that you do, and then taking time to be here on my podcast, I really appreciate you again. How's everything been going with you?
Going well. In the middle of a semester right now, but I am going well, and I thought I would take some time to be on Dr. Shanita's show.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And so how I like to do it now is I have a segment called What Inspired You. And so I try to get some buy-in from my audience just to share some things that probably has inspired them just over this month, over the year, over the week, or however. So would you like to share with us something that may have inspired you and maybe they would inspire others?
Yeah. So something that inspired me this week, I have a young minister and businessman that I'm training right now. And he came to me, I think yesterday, and mentioned that a young lady who's in another area of study said she's been watching him be trained and discipled and mentored. And she would like to be trained and mentored also by me. And so I was like, whoa, she's been watching and she's seeing the results and the fruit and all that stuff. And so I was like, man, it doesn't work as quickly as probably wanted to work, but this thing works.
Yeah.
This thing's work. So it was inspiring to me, just inspired me to continue to do what I'm doing, whether it really catches right away in mentorship and coaching emerging leaders, or whether it takes a long time. And so, so that inspired me.
That's good. And as we know, it's that seed that you plant, and sometimes it takes a while to see that seed blossom. But in this case, we're so glad that, and it's well deserved, Dr. Spears. Spears, I'm telling you, just well deserved, and just giving you your flowers now. And so, with that being said, we're going to get into our segue, because I think this is a perfect person to be able to talk about how leaders create culture without speaking. Pretty much how people follow behavior more than words. And as you guys just heard, this is something that inspired him. He has planted a seed in a young man, and that's just a byproduct. That's not even a direct. He's not even influencing her directly. He's influencing somebody else. And as a result, it's like, hey, who's mentoring you? Who's helping you? And I would like to connect with that person. So with that being said, how do leaders, I think this is a perfect question right now. How do leaders create that culture without even saying a word?
Yeah, so when I looked at this question, I was like, let me see how I can answer it. Well, first thing is I think leadership, this is something you probably know about because you're a coach. Leadership presence is a big part of creating leadership culture, okay? And so that means that what presence do you exude when you're around people? How do you affect people? What do you do to inspire them, empower them? What do you do to kind of uphold them? What do you do to challenge them? And so leadership presence, and when I say that, I mean just for me, as I'm a Christian, and so as a Christian man, do I consistently exude the Holy Spirit? Do I consistently exude integrity and character and those types of things? Let me see here. What else on this here? Let's see here. So I think it's leadership presence and action, okay? And then modeling the behavior and the actions, okay? So here's a good example. Remember when, I'll use a biblical example, when Prophet Elisha resurrects the Shunammite woman's son. And so what did they say? They said, there's a dead body there. And he said, he placed his mouth on his mouth. He placed his eyes on his eyes and his hands on his hands.
I see where you're going. Yeah. I see where you're going with this.
So for Elisha to do what he did, what he was doing was he was mirroring what was happening, but then he was also imparting the presence that he had to raise that person up. So as leaders, we have to be able to not only just carry a leadership presence and an action, but we also have to be able to impart that.
Wow.
And when we impart that, it says in this script here that the child raised up from the dead.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we have to raise people up from failure, from disappointment, from turmoil, from trauma, all those different things. And so I think the way you influence culture is through leadership presence and leadership action. So
wow, that's
what
good.
I was saying.
You know somebody gonna listen to this, and that's gonna be their sermon on Sunday.
Okay, yeah, look.
That was good. That was good. Yeah. I like that. I never looked at that scripture like that. It's just a modeling. And one thing you said within that, you said, as leaders, just helping people get up, helping people, come from where they are. The question is, before I get into the next question, will be kind of talk to us a little bit more about how much responsibility is that for the leader versus that of the actual person that we're trying to help raise up. Could you speak on that?
Yeah. I think it's, believe it or not, a 50-50 thing. I don't think it's all on the leader. Mm-hmm. I do think it is, there has to be something given back. I mean, I have relationships where, I poured in a whole bunch and they didn't pour in really anything. Mm-hmm. And after a while, you feel like, I'm doing all the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I do now, as I move forward in leadership, expect something significant back because I'm giving something significant out. So it doesn't mean amount of time, but if it's quality time, diving in, transparency, honesty, it's interesting because I think we can feel like we're wasting our time if people aren't being honest about where they really are in life, in leadership, and all of that. So I think that's something that you lay out with somebody initially is like, hey, this is a 50-50 thing. This is not all me pouring into you.
Yeah.
And I to maximize our time, I need you and I will do the same. Let's be transparent and honest. We don't have to tell too deep, get into super deep stuff, but just be real about how you're feeling.
Yeah.
What's happening? What are your successes? What are your failures? On and on and on. And then what are some things we can do to kind of help raise you and, put you back in the place you need to be and so you can really grow.
Yeah.
So,
no,
yeah.
No, that's good. I like that because it goes back to helping them create that awareness, right? Like, what do we need to do to continue to help you grow? And then us as the leader is helping creating that awareness in us. Like, hey, we have to be aware that it's just not always us and then vice versa. So I like that, just having those conversations and that vulnerability. And so a question I have is, what responsibility do leaders have to model the behaviors they expect from others? So we go back to the example that you said. I love that example. But what responsibilities do we have to model the behavior? So in this case, what we're expecting from others.
Yeah. So my opinion, I'm just going to read this, is that as a leader, trainer, mentor, is that people trust what they consistently see more than what they consistently hear.
That's good.
Okay. Even though consistently saying and doing is a powerful combination.
Yeah. I assume that people that are listening to this episode understand what culture is, right?
Yes.
And so if you could just explain to us in your words, what is culture? Because we're talking about creating culture and modeling what we are expecting in culture. So can you tell us a little bit about what is culture?
Yeah. So I see culture as, I'm going to use this coaching example.
Yeah.
I see it as environment. I see it as environment, and then I see it as, this is going to sound interesting, dogmas, beliefs. I see it as artifacts.
Interesting.
I see it as, because there's all that in a culture. There's old stuff in the culture. There's new stuff in the culture. This is kind of a little bit rough. There's lies and there's truths in the culture. And so when you're trying to develop a culture, then you're talking about certain values and core values and beliefs and all kinds of different stuff. And so it's an environment, but the culture is everything together that makes it either work or not work.
Yeah.
It's the invisible part of, like, here's a good example. In a culture, it's a study that says that a lot of people leave jobs not because they don't like their job, but because they didn't like their manager. And so, but guess what? There was some kind of psychological contract that was breached.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. So is a psychological breach something you can see? No, it's not something you can see.
Yeah.
It's something that employee expected from the culture, from their manager, that is unseen, that they did not get. And so they left the company because of an unseen cultural issue.
Wow. That's good.
So does that help?
Yeah, that helps.
Okay.
Wow. And so with that being said, with the unseen cultural thing, what can leaders do to make sure we're putting those things in place where it is one of those things that, hey, these are the expectations. This is what I'm expecting. This is what, well, not even what I'm expecting, but this is what we have to do in order to push this company forward or this goal forward.
Yeah, so I do think that those invisible cultural kind of artifacts, beliefs, core values, and stuff at some point need to be put on paper.
Yes.
So there needs to be some kind of maybe policies and procedures, but also there has to be consistent time with your leadership team.
That's good.
To put that into them, because a lot of people, what they'll do is they start off with a big old Christmas thing, New Year's event or whatever it may be, and then they won't see them until June.
Yeah.
You know. And so, how about a monthly meeting? How about a weekly meeting, check-in? How about a one-on-one meetings? How about, small group meetings? Whatever it may be, open office hours.
Yeah.
Something to where not only do you establish those kind of cultural, rules and regulations or behaviors, you're also able to manage them, to empower them. I'll use this word, to shepherd them.
Because that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And so why do people tend to follow behavior more than they follow those verbal expectations?
Ooh. So consistently showing up. So in whatever space God has put you in on a daily basis. So I'll say this, with the spirit of peace, confidence, hope, and innovation. So it's the consistently showing up with the same presence.
Wow.
Because what happens is sometimes we have a bad day or something happened at home or whatever, and everybody knows it, and then we lose the culture because we had a day where we ranted and yelled and screamed and all that.
Yeah.
But a leader has to be able to have not only just a leadership presence, a persona, but they have to be able to have a leadership mindset and be able to have a leadership focus. Because I might have had an argument with my wife, everybody should know about that.
Yeah. Come on.
Or because the kids kept me up all night. I might look sleepy, but they don't need to know that. And so I would say, it's just consistently doing kind of those things that bring peace, that bring unity, that bring innovation, hope. Because I think whatever you seed your culture and environment with, you're going to reap at some point.
That's good.
And
so it may be somebody listening, Dr. Spears, that may say, I hear him say it's what you consistently show. But so what if I just have if I had a bad day, that's not, I'm consistently showing bad days.
No, right.
So explain a little bit more about that for us.
Yeah. So now we're getting into the leadership character of the leader, because now we have to apologize and say, now we need to say, the humility. There you go. Because I've had to do it before. I was in a lot of meetings. And I was a little bit short with people, and I'm doing stuff. And then we had our team meetings, and I'll say, hey, how's everybody doing? Let's go ahead and check in. And then I'll just say something like, just from your perspective, how am I doing?
Yeah.
And then one of the people raised their hand and they said, well, you was kind of gruff today. And I just say, oh, I'm so sorry. I had so many meetings. I had some things going on. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Well, so what does that do? That lets them know that you're not, perfect.
Yeah.
But you're still their leader. But, something happened. So the consistency is not saying that in continually showing up, it's not that you're perfect. It's just that they don't see you like they don't see you all upset or mad or
Yeah.
gruff
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's not your normal character, so they know something's off. Yeah, and sometimes people, what they'll do is they'll even say, "Well, how can I help?
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
do you need? Do you need me to take on a little extra project?
Yes.
Do you need me to do such and such?" Because it gets heavy. It doesn't mean you can't do your job. It just means there's a lot happening.
Yeah, and I
So
think even in that moment, you're creating again, culture, creating an environment of trust to say, hey, my leader does have accountability. My leader can be vulnerable. My leader can be humble, and that's somebody that we do want to follow. And
there you
as
go.
we are creating this culture and
That's
shaping these
good.
behaviors, and so yeah, I like that. So. Question. So I want to ask this one. So, what everyday leadership behaviors, in your opinion? So we're talking about leadership behaviors. Just maybe a few, maybe one or two or three, however you want to share. What everyday leadership behaviors most powerfully shape culture for better or worse? So just being able to help the leaders understand, hey, if you do these three consistently, these are not that any behaviors or traits trumps others, but these are the things that's going to help you powerfully shape culture a lot quicker than these. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? Than these over here.
So I'm going to go a little bit deep.
Okay.
So I put down and said when I was separated from my wife, you know
Okay.
about that in my story, about 7 years ago, along with resigning from a long-standing ministry, which I truly love being part of.
Mm-hmm.
I kept showing up to serve those who were hurting, teaching, training,
Wow.
praying for people, speaking life into them when I was truly devastated and broken myself.
Oh my. Oh my. That's deep. I know that.
And I went there because people think that because you go through stuff that it's a reason to not still serve and not still be the leader you're supposed to be. I remember when I was doing that, one person stopped and looked at me. There was a young person. They just said, I just want to say to you, I know you're going to get through this. Matter of fact, at the time they said, I'm not sure how it's going to come out on the other side.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that you showing up every day means something to me.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I was like, man, because I'm broken, and they know it. But it's funny, it was almost an escape too, because it was a way, as you start serving people, you forget about yourself, you forget about your situation. So I would say the main thing is some things that would be at is you still have to press through difficult, hard times and serve people and do the ministry, the job, the whatever it is, because people still need you as a leader. Yeah.
That's deep, because some leaders will use it as an excuse to act a fool. I'm hurting. I'm going
Yeah.
through this, and rightfully so. I get it. We're human.
Yeah.
But
Right.
even in those moments, we still have a responsibility to shape culture. So
We
when
do.
we do have people, hey, when you're hurting, and it's in our case, we're Christians. When you're bleeding, you got to depend on something higher than yourself, And I think that helps to shape an environment and behaviors to where you're depending on Christ more than your hurt, your pain. And it's
Yeah.
still shaping culture. It's still saying I have a dependency. And so I think that's real good, because people will use that to act a plump fool.
I know I wanted to.
And it's a real place. It's a real place, and even in that, just wanting to, just knowing that my behavior, how I represent in this moment, is more than about me.
Yes.
And so it's about those that are behind me, and so that's real good. And so, so let's say this: if what is a behavior leaders should examine if they want to shift their culture immediately? So out of the leadership trends, out of the leadership traits, out of the trending leadership things that are happening in research, what is behavior or behaviors that leaders can examine today to help shift that culture immediately? Maybe some of the things that you see trending in leadership, because again, we have the boomer generation. Most of them are probably retired. Then you have Gen X, and then you have millennials, and these new kids coming out. I'm like, Lord, it's just a lot. So what do you think of, what is one behaviors leaders can just really just examine and work on to be able to shift their culture immediately as it relates to what's trending in our leadership research?
Let me say what they're not, first of all. So the first one is leadership behaviors this day and time is not, and you've heard this before, not about the great man theory.
Mm-hmm. Explain it
And
for the people.
yeah, great man theory is you Superman and you Superwoman,
Mm-hmm.
and that you have innate traits that come from somewhere, and you're special, and and you have an S on your chest and all that stuff, because that will come crumbling down real quickly.
Yes.
As you build culture,
Mm-hmm.
as you build culture. So to me, it's you have to have a realistic behavior is acting in a realistic way on a daily basis for people, so that what you do is attainable and not something that looks mythical.
That's good. That's good. That's
So,
good.
no, really,
Yeah.
because that's something. Even though I'm extremely talented and gifted, and God's called me, all that stuff, I have to. One of the joys I have is being a scholar practitioner,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and being able to take deep stuff and make it real practical and applicable to other people. So, to me, I used to call it the the Robin Hood thing, where you rob people to give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's what I thought when I was going to get to college, get my doctorate. I would say, I'm going to get that. I'm going to take that stuff. I'm going to take it and bring it back to the people.
Yeah.
And so leadership behavior to me, that is trending for me, is that real practical application aspect that leaders sometimes forget about, because they want to be sometimes super people instead of being people that are touchable, and also being people that their behaviors are transferable.
Yeah. I like that. That makes sense, because sometimes when you do come into a new position or a new place, you do feel like, oh, I can do it all. I got this. And I get it, because you're trying to make an impression. You got all these things that you're trying to prove things. You're trying to make sure your higher ups who hired you. So I get that, but that's really practical information. Do not go in there with this superhero complex. If you want to shift that culture immediately. So you got to go in there knowing, hey, I need you guys. I need the delegation. I need the help. I need the support. And so I really, really like that. That's really good. If we had enough time, we could just talk on that right there, because that is a good piece to talk on right there. So, wow, that even helped me. So I really appreciate that. And so we're going to get a little bit more personal. So can you, Dr. Spears, can you share a moment when your actions communicated more to your team than your words ever could?
Woo! So, believe it or not, I wrote an article on this.
Okay, tell us where we can find the article. Yes.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's called Word Action Signals: Identifying Incongruence Between Strategic Leadership Practices and Values.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'd say that because what it does. And I'll give an example. Let's just say this. When I've been in organizations where I didn't always agree with the decisions that were made, but I had to pass them on to the people.
Yeah.
And so there were times in my beginning years when I remember giving it with an attitude and telling them what we're going to be doing.
That's good.
So they have asked us to do such and such, and so we're going to try to do it the way that they ask us to do it,
I get you.
Yeah. And then now it's funny because it's just changed. Now I take some time and I go through all my emotional rigmaroles and everything. And then if it's not unethical and all of that, I say, you know what? We got to get done. And we're going to do it with precision and excellence and so on and so forth. And they'll be like, what is it?
Yeah.
We're going to do such and such. Let's be excited about this. Let's get this done. Let's be the best school in the university at getting this done and blah, blah. So I had to shift because my mind was not, and my heart were not in line.
That's good.
So to me, it takes time for a leader, whether they sit for a minute, they sit for a day or two, whatever, to get their head and their mind in line so that they're believable and people can trust you.
Wow. When
you're talking about things and because the head heart quandary, That happens a lot with people. You can
Yeah.
tell. It's like, that somebody saying something to me, I'm saying to myself, do you really believe that?
No,
I don't
that's
think
real.
I don't think you really believe that.
That's real. That's
You're
real.
saying it and you're gonna do it,
Yeah.
but you don't really believe it.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. That head heart alignment, like, because it's constantly fighting. Wow, that's good. Oh man, we you got to come back because I can go into more and more with that. And so the last thing. So let's just piggyback into this. So real quickly, how does misalignment between what leaders say and what they do damage trust and culture? You kind of just talked about it just a little bit.
Yeah.
But how just talk a little bit more for about 1 minute, just about that
Yeah.
heart and mind alignment, because that is so true.
Yeah. So it damages the trust you're trying to build along with questioning the true authenticity of the leader. Because
That's
if I think if you don't align the head and the heart, then people can question whether you really are authentic about your leadership and what you're doing and how you're going about your, what you do. So that's always been big for me. I've always had to have, even if I didn't agree with it, I'll give a quick example. I've had mostly leaders who allow me to talk very plain to them about what I think.
Yeah.
And so one time I was doing something, and then my boss asked me to do it, and I was like, what? And we're talking about it, and we kind of talked through it and everything. They were like, are you going to do what I asked you to do? And I said, I am going to do what I'm asking you to do, but I need to say what I disagree with before I do what you tell me to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm an expert in this area,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't say, you're not, but I just said, I'm an expert in this area, so you asked me to do something that's against what I know about the industry.
Wow.
And so I need to say that. And so when I got done, and they said, so I always give you freedom to talk about it. Are you going to do what I asked you to do? And what's the timeline? I said, yes, I'm going to do what you asked me to do, and I'm going to go with the timeline. So, yeah. So I to me, it does take time to do the authenticity thing, but the authenticity is what people want to see. That's when you know the head and the heart are in alignment.
Got you. When you're in alignment with when you're authentic, that's when you're knowing that your head and your heart is in alignment, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I like that. I like that. That's good, because that was a really good example what you gave, because you was like, hey, I'm telling you, not for this, so to speak, I'm gonna tell you how I feel about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, so that way you know that your values and what you're believing is, you're still true to those things, right?
Right.
And still
Right.
voicing that. That's good. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Okay. And so, quick question, real quick. How can people still, or leaders, when, say for example, for you, like leaders can respect, like, hey, I need you guys to do this. So similar to your situation. So let's say if there's a person that was in your shoes, where they can still respect authority, because at the end of the day you still did it, but you still say what you need to say in respect to make sure that you're still in alignment. So real quick, so because there may be somebody in your shoes that may say, I'm always doing what I don't feel that, in aligning with my values, but how can I do it in a respectful way to where my leader is still seen as, the authority, respect, knowing that I'm not trying to be a hard employee, but this is my heart.
Yeah, it needs to be some kind of just verbal or psychological contract where you're able to agree with the leader that, hey, this is my style and this is not disrespectful to you. Gotcha. And so this is just how I deal with, and I walk through the process of letting you know that because I'm an expert in this area, that's normally not how we do it. But I'm willing to do this because you might see something I don't see.
Yeah.
And to be honest, ultimately, one of the latest things that happened, they were totally right. And I had to go back and tell them, and it wasn't like I was, sheepishly, you were right.
Yeah.
I was just like, you were right.
Yeah.
I voiced what I thought, but you were, and they were like, I wasn't I? And so to me, those are healthy relationships because you have, supervisors and superiors, but doesn't mean you're not a leader.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, to me, those are the most healthy environments where you can do that.
Yeah.
And so so both are authentic and both are getting it done.
That's good. And at the end of the day, for me, the way I teach leadership is leading yourself first, right? Leading yourself in your mind and your emotions and the decisions that you make. And so, Dr. Spears, we thank you so much for being on the Leaders Coach podcast. You definitely got to come back. There was some gems. I was up here taking notes. I was like, oh, we got to talk about. I really want to talk more about that misalignment and then just that behaviors leaders can do to examine that superhero complex. Because I think a lot of people really, really need some help with that. And so again, thank you so much. You guys that are listening, you guys make sure that you stay tuned into the Leaders Coach podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, we want to hear from you. Hit us up on our Spotify by going to the Leaders Coach podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown. Y'all stay blessed, stay up, and we'll talk to you next time. This has been the Leaders Coach podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown.